The American entry into World War I came in April 1917, after 2.5 years of efforts by President Woodrow Wilson to keep the United States neutral. American neutrality and the Lusitania. At the outbreak of World War I, the United States pursued a policy of non-intervention, avoiding conflict while trying to broker a peace. When the German U-boat U-20 sank the British liner RMS Lusitania on May 7, 1915, with 128 Americans among the dead, President Woodrow Wilson insisted that America is too proud to fight, but demanded an end to attacks on passenger ships. Germany complied, and Wilson unsuccessfully tried to mediate a settlement. However, he also repeatedly warned that the United States would not tolerate unrestricted submarine warfare, which was in violation of international law. Former President Theodore Roosevelt denounced German acts as piracy. Wilson was narrowly re-elected in 1916 as his supporters emphasized he kept us out of war. American public opinion was divided, with most before early 1917 strongly of the opinion that the United States should stay out of the war. Opinion changed gradually, partly in response to German actions in Belgium and the sinking of the Lusitania, partly as German Americans lost influence, and partly in response to Wilson's position that America had to play a role in making the world safe for democracy. The general public showed little support for entering the war on the side of Germany. The great majority of German Americans and Scandinavian Americans wanted the United States to remain neutral. However, at the outbreak of war, thousands of US citizens tried to enlist in the German army. The Irish Catholic community, based in the large cities and often in control of the Democratic Party apparatus, was strongly hostile to helping Britain in any way, especially after the Easter Uprising of 1916 in Ireland. Most Protestant church leaders in the United States, regardless of their theology, favored pacifistic solutions. Most of the leaders of the women's movement, typified by Jane Addams, likewise sought brokerage of peace. The most prominent opponent of war was industrialist Henry Ford, who personally financed and led a peace ship to Europe to try to negotiate among the belligerents. No negotiations resulted. The Zimmermann Telegram and declaration of war in January 1917, Germany resumed unrestricted submarine warfare, realizing it would mean American entry. The German foreign minister, in the Zimmermann Telegram, invited Mexico to join the war as Germany's ally against the United States. In return, the Germans would finance Mexico's war and help it recover the territories of Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. The United Kingdom intercepted the message and presented it to the US Embassy in the UK. From there it made its way to President Wilson, who released it to the public. Americans considered the Zimmermann Telegram casus belli. Popular sentiment in the United States at that time was anti-Mexican as well as anti-German, while in Mexico there was considerable anti-American sentiment. General John Pershing had long been chasing the revolutionary Pancho Villa and carried out several cross-border raids. News of the telegram further inflamed tensions between the United States and Mexico. Wilson asked Congress for a war to end all wars that would make the world safe for democracy and eliminate militarism from the globe. He argued that the war was important and the US thus must have a voice in the peace conference. After the sinking of 7 US merchant ships by submarines and the publication of the Zimmermann Telegram, Wilson called for war on Germany, as Congress declared on April 6, 1917. The United States was never formally a member of the Allies, but became a self-styled associated power. It initially had a small army, but after the passage of the Selective Service Act drafted 2.8 million men, and by summer 1918 was sending 10,000 fresh soldiers to France every day. In 1917, the US Congress gave citizenship to Puerto Ricans drafted to participate in World War I as part of the Jones Act. If Germany believed it would be many more months before American soldiers would arrive and that their arrival could be stopped by U-boats, it had miscalculated. The United States Navy sent a battleship group to Scapa Flow to join the British Grand Fleet, destroyers to Queenstown, Ireland, and submarines to help guard convoys. Several regiments of US Marines were also dispatched to France. The British and French wanted American units to reinforce their troops already on the battle lines and not waste scarce shipping on supplies. General John Pershing, American Expeditionary Forces commander, refused to break up American units to be used as filler material. As an exception, he did allow African-American combat regiments to be used in French divisions. The Harlem Hellfighters fought as part of the French 16th Division and earned a unit Croix de for their actions at Chateau Thierry, Billy Wood, and Schalt. American Expeditionary Forces doctrine called for the use of frontal assaults, which had long since been discarded by British Empire and French commanders due to the large loss of life that resulted.